Hi, folks. I'm Joe Wesley of J&L Creative Solutions, and my guest today is...
Dr. Catherine Wiberg, the founder and consultant at Insight.
Thank you for joining us. For those who are seeing us for the first time, thank you for the visit. For those who are coming back, thank you even more for wanting to come back. The concept here is we call this a hot seat challenge to discover an ingredient of your secret sauce. And my tagline is, I don't claim that I see dead people, but I will discover things about you that you've yet to know about that will give you a unique advantage over your competition. And I call that your secret sauce. People can mimic or copy what you do, but they can't fake who you are. So the better you can discover that, the better you can utilize that, the better you can deal with what used to be your competition. These pre-recorded live performances. I say pre-recorded because it's not live right now, but it's unscripted, unrehearsed. So I have no idea how it's going to turn out. One of the things, but I will ask my guest of the moment, I will begin asking, what's your favorite pastime? Because that goes to your passion. And that's distinct to you, in this instance, Dr. Catherine. And this is important because there's only one of you, Dr. C, I like to call her. Now, you will see me looking down every now and then because I take notes. Right now, a blank sheet of paper. I have a mind like a sieve. If I don't write it down, it doesn't exist. So at some point, for the first 15, 20 minutes, we'll describe Dr. Catherine's passion, her pastime, and then we'll talk about her business. And I guess we'll get started now. So Dr. Catherine, what is your favorite pastime?
Joe, I have been thinking about this quite a lot because I've wondered how my pastime has changed over the years.
Well, let me backtrack. Most of my guests are very productive, busy people. And so to make it an easier thing, I'm going to ask you, between the ages of 3 and 5, what do you really enjoy doing?
Well, that changes things.
There we go.
That changes things because my current pastime is definitely different from that. Between the ages of 3 and 5, I think I loved running around and meeting people.
Okay.
Talking to everybody and running and skipping.
I hear that. Well, you said running around. I get that. What was it like? Well, that's unfair. 3 to 5. I'm not sure how many people had a thought process of why they like meeting people. What do you call enjoying about going around and meeting people?
Say again, what do I enjoy? Well,
people do things, they say in the psych industry that people do things they enjoy doing, assuming they have a choice on that. So asking a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old, that question might be problematic, but somebody who's maybe a little bit beyond puberty, I might get a better response as you look back on yourself, that it was intuitive to you to do this. Can you reflect back why you enjoyed so much that activity?
Well, I know that I loved hugs. I loved talking to people, gaining smiles, creating smiles.
Right.
I know that as I look back over my life of almost 50 years, it's very similar. I love still meeting people, talking to people, learning what makes them awesome, and then throwing it back in their faces and telling them, this is why you're so cool. How can you not know you're so cool?
I get that.
I've always enjoyed.
Now, would you call yourself an extrovert or an introvert?
I am a natural extrovert, even to this point. I've learned introvert abilities.
Excuse me for laughing. I'm a natural introvert. I didn't have to learn any abilities for that. It comes natural. So like you describe it as a brand new concept to me. Maybe for another podcast, we'll talk about that.
I found that I needed to learn those introvert abilities because they are superpowers for introverts.
Right.
And I could not wrap my head around them.
Well, I'm just as clueless. So same back to you on that one. I get that. So now you're in high school. Was your pastime still running around meeting people, or were you doing something different perhaps at that point in your life?
In high school, I started fresh.
Mm-hmm.
I was in junior high from 7th grade to 9th grade,
Okay.
and in high school from 10th grade to 12th grade.
Right.
In 9th grade, I decided that I would go to a high school where absolutely nobody knew me
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to start fresh. I moved from being Kathy to being Catherine.
Mm.
I moved from feeling insecure and bullied to deciding I was going to be the friend I wanted everybody to be. That I
Okay.
was going to look at everybody and tell them they're amazing and be friendly and be all of me. I
Right.
grew up thinking I was too much. I
Mm-hmm.
decided I was going to step into that too muchness and find out who I wanted to be in the world and how I wanted to be in the world.
I
So I was
understand.
absolutely going about meeting people, constantly smiling, constantly. I somehow was able to go through the different cliques that apparently were at my high school.
Mm-hmm.
I had seen cliques growing up in my elementary school and my junior high. I didn't really see the cliques in my high school.
Okay.
I had friends who told me there were cliques. And I said, really? I don't find them here. But they had grown up with those cliques.
Right.
Like I had left the cliques to go start fresh,
Right.
and they hadn't had that opportunity. So I started fresh. Nobody knows me. This is me.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, love me, hate me, walk away from me. But this is me. And
Right.
this is who I'm going to be. And this is so absolutely meeting people all the time
Okay.
in multiple conversations, pointing out this is what's awesome.
Now, did you ever set a project for yourself about you going to when you go to a group, a setting where there's a group of people? Was it a commitment today? I'm going to discover or learn about, or was it more random? Let's engage and let's see where it goes.
It was way more randomness then. Now it's pointed.
Okay, well,
Now,
we're not quite now. We're not quite now yet. We'll
oh, but
get
come on.
there. We'll get there in a
It's
few
part of
moments.
those introvert abilities that I learned.
I hear that, and maybe that is. Well, let me ask you this. Now that you bring up a point, I believe if somebody makes a point more than one time, certainly ask the question: what things did you have to learn about introverts?
I had to learn how to listen well.
Okay.
I had to learn how to observe. I had to learn how to focus on one conversation at a time.
Right.
When I was in high school, I would be part of 5 conversations simultaneously without missing a beat. And my best friend pulled me aside one day and said, I can't handle this. I need you to pay attention to me
Hmm.
when you're with me. And she's an introvert.
Right.
I had to learn how to sit back. I had to learn, and I didn't learn this until young adulthood,
Right.
to enjoy silence and to be able to accept and sit in silence and not feel awkward.
Okay.
I didn't know how to do that.
Understood. Interesting.
So these
So,
are introvert abilities for me that I focused on.
and I'm going to bounce back to you. The question then: I never considered being an extrovert or a part of the extrovert syndrome, for lack of a better way to say it, a means of protection, of armor.
Hmm.
If I'm hearing you correctly, that as long as you're engaging 4 or 5 different people at one time, talking about them, whatever it may be, then somehow with all that activity, you're kind of a core of isolation. Is that far off, or it's a whole new concept to me? But to get understanding, because as you describe introverts, I hear what you're saying. You define them accurately well. But I never thought of what makes an extrovert, and you've alluded to it perhaps, but I'm not sure if, and we may come back to that again. If it's too complicated, we'll move on the concept.
I admit I'm simply fascinated that you tagged on that because I've not thought of it in that way.
Right.
However, for me, that touches on a response to childhood trauma that I think I've never shared with you. And you and I have had many conversations.
Right.
But that touches on absolutely several
Well,
different instances of childhood trauma, and absolutely my extroversion, although it has been natural, it
mhm.
also very easily could have been a suit of armor. I totally
I,
can see
I
that.
hear that. Well, beyond our scope of dialogue, we'll say it's maybe perhaps an enhancement concept of who you are, the persona,
It's
and
interesting.
we'll move on. But well, excuse me, folks. Don't sound so surprised. This is what I do.
And although I know that to an extent because we've talked several times
That's okay.
before,
No need to brown nose me now. The moment is
no,
come and
it
gone.
startled me, and I don't brown nose. I am so
Fair,
blunt. I
fair enough.
believe in blunt compliments and kind correction. So I gush,
Fair
and that's
enough.
part of being an extrovert, and it's part of being me.
I hear that, and thank you for that. Again, folks, this is live engagement. It's not pre-rehearsed or scripted. And I may have mentioned to you, I'll say again, I take notes. So when I'm looking down, it's not like I'm falling asleep. And it was a blank pad, perhaps when I first showed you. Now it's kind of filled up with information. So
Good night.
at some point we'll have to transition over. Excuse me. So you say now, what I'm seeing or what I'm hearing here, and one of the nice things about this particular session, I have to say this, that I have no idea what Dr. Catherine does as a business. And I say that in scope, I've done 40 of these sessions. I always have some prior idea by their title, by a business connection, some idea of what they do. I make it a point not to learn anything about who they are or why they do, because I didn't want to taint my presentation. What Dr. C is, I'll call it your transition to further discovery phase. I'll say it like that if I'm hearing it correctly. And so what's nice about it, it makes the dialogue more free-flowing, and it provides an additional challenge to me, but also it's like watching something happen in progress. All my other guests they've created their oasis of the moment. I'll say it like that, because ultimately they all tend to move on. But right now we're getting this hot out the oven concept of Dr. Catherine. So what I'm hearing so far, because I don't have any idea kind of what you do, I'm going to give you my concept of what we're talking about here. This is 30 minutes. You've got 18 minutes moving on. And this is the first time I've done less than half of our dialogue. But what I'm hearing of you is a person who's first a natural extrovert. And I know they exist out there. I've been around them. That it manifested as a young child by going to meet people, the enjoyment of it. I was always very shy. I'd hang behind my mother's leg, holding tightly onto her, so I'm not exposed to the dangers of the world. You seemingly are oblivious of it, or maybe drawn to the challenge of it. I have no idea. We only have a half an hour here. But an extrovert, and again, beyond the scope of the and purpose of the meeting or the dialogue, but you love talking to people. I suspect you gain knowledge or information talking to people. That's part of the joy of it. And I can get that, the pure fun of love and love of knowing something more. And you work to generate and respond to interaction, create smiles, create dialogue. It reinforces your energy level, and you go out and even do more of it. And I get that concept totally. And the objective was nothing more subtle than exactly, I think, as I've described it. And you learn as you're talking to people, and I'm looking at my notes again, and the concept being, we're going to move to 9th grade versus the age of 3 to 5. Again, I'm looking at my notes, and then I'm seeing a little bit more nuance to your purpose in life, that you felt a need to refresh your growth, your expansion. So where many people want to stay at the same school they grew up with unless the parents forced by moving to someplace different, you deliberately chose a new school to refresh yourself further. Where people might be scared, hesitant, concerned, no, great opportunity here as I'm hearing it. And an intriguing, that's what an extrovert is. I'm learning a lot just by sharing that concept of it. As I'm talking, I'm thinking sometimes, laughing at myself, but a fresh start, Deliberate agenda, always meet new people, not to go and cruise-o-matic. You always challenged yourself to get out there, to engage, to be a part of the world around you, and you're learning while you're doing it. And whatever other things may have been a part of it, again, beyond the scope of this dialogue. But having said that, am I far off by questioning what I've said so far?
No, it's beautiful. I
Okay,
still have skipping moments. I'm almost 50 years old and I don't have skipping moments. Just
fair enough.
having
Well,
and going to meet people is just joyous for me.
we're all human, whether you choose to admit that or not, perhaps. So let me ask you this then. What got you on the path of where you're going now? Well, could you describe, let's do it this way. Could you describe kind of what you do, like in 2 sentences, and then flip back to what got you on this path? Because what I'm hearing now, much like the sense of a new school, to refresh yourself, to grow, allow you to grow further. It's like in a different school of life all over again, to reboot yourself, to refresh yourself. So I'm really curious about this.
I always struggle to do 2 sentences.
Okay, I hear that. Well, let me ask you this: what's your
Well,
type? Yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna do it this way. I see founder and consultant, and I thought when you first wrote that you had a speech impediment or you had a dyslexia, you couldn't spell correctly. Could you describe to us what consultant means?
Yes, I'm going to tie those 2 questions together if it's okay.
Okay, please.
Going back to the fact that I enjoy creating smiles.
Hmm.
I work to help companies employ joy.
Okay.
As a consultant, I am a coaching consultant. I go back and forth between being a coach and being a consultant. It's
Okay.
a combination of help you find what is joyous and wonderful and working in your organization, and then consult you on how to do more of that or how to make changes to increase the joy in your organization.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question. That I hear that, but there are people who might argue, well, I don't want people here laughing it up and having fun and joy. They're here to work. So won't that be counterproductive when I'm trying to accomplish in my business? How do you answer that?
Joy does not necessarily mean raucous laughter and bubbles, guns, wars.
Okay.
Joy means that you enjoy what you're doing, whether it's you enjoy it because it's a challenge, whether you enjoy it because you're helping somebody, whether you enjoy it because you get to focus on a task, whether you enjoy it because of the people with whom you work.
Mm-hmm.
Joy is not always play. Joy is fulfillment. Joy
Right.
is contentment. Joy is using your strengths to help those around you and using your strengths to elevate both yourself and the people with whom you interact. For
Okay.
me, that's what joy is. And I help people find and create joy in their work and in their workplace. It doesn't have to be, we're all crazy, silly. It's, I want to be here. I want to do this work. I want to bring to the world what is amazing about me and recognize I'm not just anything, but that which comes naturally to me is amazing to somebody else because it doesn't come naturally to everybody.
I
And
hear
I
that.
want to bring that.
Well, I'm going to ask you another question then. Is your philosophy, and I rephrase that, I suspect your philosophy expressed is philosophy shared. That might seem to be redundant, but I get the impression from you that because you took pleasure in what you were doing, you were more productive with it. So it's not so much the raucous laughter that was implied here. So if someone enjoys coming to work, if someone enjoys the definition, enjoys the window in the corner by the window, that they're likely to be more productive. And I take the nodding that I'm not too far off track what I'm saying.
I'd say you're hitting the nail on the head.
Okay.
Yes. Taking joy in the work.
And then because they enjoy it, they may or may not, they likely, I guess, would be more expressive, more contributory of their environment. along with being more productive. Maybe because they enjoy the environment, maybe, I hate the word comfortable to express observations or thoughts, but I do know in many environments, people are afraid to speak up. And as a result, companies may suffer because their employees either don't care, aren't involved, stilted, whatever it may be. Is what you do trying to reverse that, or is there something different as a focus?
I definitely like to focus on company culture.
Okay.
If somebody who runs an organization wants a culture where people are free to speak up and free to share their ideas,
Mm-hmm.
what is holding people back from doing that? Is there fear? Are there too many yes people around?
Mm-hmm.
Is there the possibility of, oh my goodness, I'm going to do it wrong and something horrible is going to happen? If that is the situation and you say you want an organization where people are free to speak up, there's going to be a culture shift.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to take some effort and some change. Part of that is going to be what brings joy to the people that work there. Why did they want to come work there? Something.
Excuse me, can I ask you? I'm going to answer that as a theoretical respondent to why would somebody want to work there? Well, I need a job and you're convenient to me. So do I need more than that? I'm asking in terms of your role in the environment.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it comes down to. If that is sufficient for you to feel fulfilled at your job, so be it. That's
Okay.
fantastic.
All right.
If there's more that you want from your job, what more do you want?
Well, okay, but I'm clueless to that. I don't know what I want. I want to pay the bills, and I want to
Okay.
be able to work and get home before 9 o'clock at night. So, as your consultant slash coach format, do you delve into the hearts and souls of your audience as part of the
I
joy
do.
factor? Okay.
I do. I love appreciative inquiry and appreciative intelligence. I
Hmm.
did not learn that those words existed in that form until my doctorate degree.
Okay.
But it is recognized.
Excuse me. What is your degree in?
Doctor of Management in Organizational Development and Change.
Ooh, that's a breathful.
It is a breathful, but hey, I'm an extrovert.
I
I go blah all the time.
I was going to say that sounds like it falls into your extrovert syndrome environment. So many people fear change. It seems like you thrive on it, you need it. It's a part of who you are, and I suspect much of your lifestyle. Some people just collect things. What comes to mind as you're walking along the street, lint and dust and paper and everything else just kind of gets drawn to your aura. And you collect these things, and somehow you figure out how to make it work, put it all together in a nice manner, and create something that wasn't there before out of seemingly random, inert items. I don't mean to get too esoteric, but am I far off what I'm saying there?
If we look at it from an esoteric perspective, yes, that
Okay.
totally describes me. If we look at it from a physical perspective,
I don't mean
I'm a
that.
combination of all the above.
Sure,
But
she's on top of this. She's actually qualified my question to give the answer. I like that.
but it is, I have worked with people who thought that they were just put in a position because it was convenient,
Okay.
or they were just employed there because we needed bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and don't realize that even if you took a job because it was convenient,
Right.
because it would pay the bills, that at some point after those needs have been met for long enough, you will begin to look and say, is there more? Is this enough? And if you're going to stay at that organization and possibly retire from that organization, there's going to be some kind of joy that you experience, whether it is always my bills are paid and I can walk home before dark, that could totally be what fulfills a person for a lifetime. Nothing wrong with that. That's fantastic. If it ever changes and somebody says, you know, I love that I can do this and I want to do more. Why do you want to do more? What about you is amazing? You know, it's similar to your secret sauce, but it's similar, but it's different. And I'm struggling to identify how it's different.
Well, that's okay. While you're struggling, let me interject. Many people I know, coaches or consultants, will go to a company and talk about helping one develop the culture of the company, create better sense of cooperative spirit amongst each other. And I'm sure there are a lot of studies and techniques and didactic programs that can add to that environment. What I'm hearing in Dr. C is this is who she is, the persona. This wasn't something that she decided in college. I'm going to major as a consultant in management of human mindsets or whatever it may be. That you grew up being who you are. You grew up taking on challenges as a method of coping / growth for the pure enjoyment of it also. So for a company, be it 1 or 2 people, be it 30,000 people, that if you're going to choose somebody and you want to minimize the waste of your money, your resources to hire somebody, to me, Dr. Catherine would be an ideal persona based on the legacy she brings with her. She developed the skill to do it in an educated manner. That's her PhD. Too many words for me to say it again. But
just doctor of management is fine.
Fair enough. But also, she does it on a humanistic level. This is something she enjoys doing. And she can take her personal philosophy, her personal style, share it back. I can understand the issue between consultant / coach, because it's hard to make a distinction based on what you bring to the table. I consider a total package. Am I far off on that, what I'm saying?
I think it's beautiful what you're saying, and I like the way you describe it. So.
Okay. Well, thank you. We do honor our 30-minute program. It's been 27.5 minutes. We've got some time here, and I tell people I do make notes. Oh, commercial break. Almost forgot. Hey, folks, remember to look at us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Alignable. We posted that. Please share your comments. We do audit that. Reach out to Dr. Catherine with any more questions, or you'd like to learn more of what she does, you'd like to get involved, what she can provide for you and your company. It will be in the link format. If you'd like to know more about what I do, maybe be a guest, not maybe, you want to be a guest, please feel connect with either of us. We do audit, we do respond back. Subscribe to my program. Remember to share, come back and look at us again. Anything you want to take us home with, Dr. C, about where you are in this?
I want simply to emphasize that everybody with whom you interact, whether it is personally or professionally, has strengths, and everybody with whom you interact might not recognize those strengths. Have fun finding your strengths and other people's strengths, because they're going to work together to truly employ joy in every interaction.
Fair enough. And now I'm going to flip this a different angle. At worst, or at best, you realize if it doesn't work together, you're not going to waste your time. You can move on to a healthier, more wholesome environment if it doesn't fit at that moment. I want to thank you for this. It was a fun dialogue. This is the first time I almost forgot my commercial break because we're having so much fun at it. It's been enjoyable. Thank you, guests, for being a part of us. Remember to ask questions, good or bad. We will audit, we will respond back. Remember to share, and remember to subscribe to my program, Taking Your Hot Seat Challenge. On behalf of myself and
Dr. Catherine Wiberg.
we don't rehearse this stuff.
Exactly. I'm so unaccustomed to introducing myself and reintroducing myself.
Fair enough. It's natural. I'm just teasing you. Thank you again, folks, for being part of the program, and we'll see you next. Have a good. This will come out after Labor Day. All those pre-recorded before then, so I almost said have a good Labor Day, but have a good future. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care.